We back, and what I want to do is play something for y'all off this news site, right? But we had to jump. We going to Joel. We going back to Joel. We just left Isaiah 14 chapter, so we going back to Joel. But what I want to do is play some information concerning Darrell Cooper. Now, Darrell Cooper was a, well, he still is. Well, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But I know he's a contractor for the Israeli military. And he finna explain something concerning the Israeli military and Gaza and Lebanon and Hezbollah. He finna explain something. But he's a contractor, okay, that been over there in Israel. His name is Darrell Cooper, okay?
Problem very early on in Iraq after the 4 Blackwater guys got lynched in Fallujah, and Bush sent in the Marines and kind of gave them a broad mandate to go retaliate. And of course, if you tell Marines to go retaliate for something, they're going to strap on their helmets and go do it. And we destroyed that city, and it created a lot of animosity in Iraq, so that by 2006 the Iraqi government was not prepared to allow us to do something like that again. And so my partner Jocko, he led the SEAL unit that went into Ramadi with a totally different operational approach to counterinsurgency, where they went in block by block, worked with the individuals who lived in that city, who were under siege by these mostly foreign jihadists, and actually won them over in a long process. The difficulty the IDF's going to have is these are not foreign jihadists who have come over and are oppressing the people of Gaza. These are representatives of the Gazan people themselves, however widespread their support for Hamas militancy may or may not be. These are their cousins and brothers, and so the Israelis are not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to turn these people against their own in the same way we might have hoped to do with the Hearts and Minds campaign. It's extremely difficult. You know, in 2006 and in 2014, people tend to have even a one-sided perspective on how those conflicts went, because at the end, Gaza was destroyed, southern Lebanon was destroyed, the IDF had taken, some casualties, but nothing that jumps off the page. And so it looks like it was just a one-sided beatdown, but that's actually not what happened. When the IDF went into southern Lebanon in 2006, they found that Hezbollah was prepared for that kind of a fight. And Hezbollah innovated a lot of tactics. They got right up close and grabbed the belt buckle of the IDF in order to mitigate Israel's close air support, their artillery, their rocket fire, things that Hezbollah really didn't have any ability to defend themselves against without air defense. Well, in 2014, nobody really thought that Hamas had that kind of military capability. After 2006, I used to work in Israel a lot. I'd go there and work with the IDF and contract personnel on their air defense issues. And after 2006, they were never going to make that mistake again of underestimating Hezbollah. They understood they were dealing with a real military threat. But I always found in the 10 years or so that I would go over there for work that they continued to underestimate Hamas. And even in 2014, when they went in and had the exact same thing happen, really, Hamas employed the same tactics: tunnels, pop-up ambushes, IEDs, of course, everywhere. And the Israelis got stalled in Gaza City and had a really hard time, and they eventually just pulled back and kind of destroyed whole sections of the city from the air. And that invited, outrage among the people in Gaza, and it invited outrage in the international community. And so, as we go into this situation, those two experiences are definitely, I can tell you for a fact, are definitely front of mind for the Israelis and their military planners. A lot of their boosters overseas can rah-rah the IDF and just sort of focus on their capabilities when they're at full strength, and they are considerable. But the people who are actually planning this assault, they understand this is a very, very risky operation. It's going to be very difficult.
Well, and Darrell, you said something to the effect of, it's going to be difficult not to avoid a backlash. But, I mean, in a sense, hasn't that ship already sailed? I mean, they've already hit they've already decimated something like 42% of Gaza, hit 7,000 targets. There's thousands of civilians killed. The whole population is under a complete siege. You know, no water, no fuel, no electricity, no food, etc. So hasn't that ship already sort of sailed?
Yeah, and you know, in the dozen or so years that I probably made, in about 12 years, I probably made 20, 25 trips to Israel to work in my capacity as a DoD engineer. And I would talk to the people there. I had friends there. I would talk to the other military personnel and contract personnel. And what I noticed over the course of the time I would go there, and this was maybe from 2007 till about 2019, is that the appetite for peace among the people I was talking to was getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and they were becoming much more radical, much more dehumanizing in their language toward the Palestinians, and much more convinced that there's no way forward in this situation other than violence. And that's very discouraging, because you see that on display right now, and this is something that we've always seen with Netanyahu's governments, you know, where for years, Israel for decades, people need to understand they've been dealing with attacks, not at this scale of the one that recently happened, but just as brutal and just as savage. They've been dealing with this stuff for decades, and we need to understand that over here. It is different than anything any Western country can really understand. Like when you go back to the late 70s and early 80s, these kind of brutal attacks, families killed, were happening on a monthly basis sometimes. And so we have to keep that in mind. And yet, the Israeli governments back then were always caught. They never looked at this as, you know, they would have targeted assassination campaigns to go after PLO officials and militants. They would take out specific people who were planning attacks. This was an intelligence and special forces led situation. And ever since Netanyahu's come in, he's just looked at the Palestinian issue as a job for the regular military. It's a job for the artillery corps and the Air Force. And you just can't fight a war like this, like that, unless you're willing to go completely medieval in a way that is not acceptable in the modern world, not if you want a seat at the table of modern first world countries. And it's the dilemma that Israel's in, because the faction around Netanyahu, you know, the very kind of dirty little secret. It's not much of a secret in Israel. People talk about this much more openly. There's a lot of issues like this that people are actually more open and nuanced about in Israel than you find when you talk to a lot of their boosters overseas.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, I understand why people got upset when Israel came in.
That's enough. But more in the interview, he tell you about that wall that's in Gaza. More in the interview, he tell you about that wall that's in Gaza. And on the wall in Gaza, he said that they got robots with machine guns on the wall, mounted on the wall in Gaza, man. Robots with machine guns, man. Yeah, man. So this what it is. You got people that's sitting inside of Israel looking on the camera with the mounted robot and shooting whoever they feel like suppress. Looking through the camera, man. You know, like a remote control video game. Right. You see? So I thought I'd share that information with y'all concerning that contractor right there. When he was speaking concerning Hezbollah and Lebanon, Israel wasn't ready for that, man. You know, things have changed, man. It's a hell of a, man, the Most High have built, man, you gotta remember, man, young people been fighting since they was little, man. Yeah. So they used to that war type environment. They've been fighting since they was little, man. Right. And you going up against the people that been training since they was young, man. They ready to go, man. And while America and Israeli military personnel making TikTok videos, man. Dancing. You see? They're ready to go, man. Them Arabs ready to go, man. But continue on in Joel.
All right, this is Joel chapter 3, verse 11. It says, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahawah, by SHAM YAHAWASHI.
Yeah, I'm talking about the angel. Go ahead.
Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about.
Go ahead.
Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full. The fat overflow, for their wickedness is great. Verse 14, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of Yahawah by SHAM YAHAWASHI is near in the valley of decisions.
Yes, so we're going to face the east. Like we give all praises to Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the elder apostle GMS. We rule well. Salute you brothers pushing this word. And truth and sincerity and strength, YAHAWASHI. And shalom to you brothers and sisters going to trust the spirit of YAHAWASHI. Shalom to you too. So with that, Mawafla Babylon,
Mawafla Babylon,
Mawafla Babylon,
Mawafla Babylon,
and Mawafla 2/3. Shalom, stay strong, search the scriptures and pray for deliverance.
Two foreign ministers with a direct interest in the conflict raging in Gaza, meeting in the Turkish capital. Both condemned the ongoing Israeli military operations there and attacks on civilians. And for the first time, the Turkish foreign minister gave more details about a plan to try and bring a lasting peace to the region.
Being a guarantor country is among the proposals we have put forward. Turkey is not only demanding the two-state solution be implemented as soon as possible. We think that Turkey, along with other countries in the region, should shoulder responsibility in solving the problem. It will be difficult for Israel and Palestine to reach an agreement on their own under the current conditions or to implement a peace agreement.
According to the meeting we held yesterday in Doha with the leaders of the country of Qatar, the political leaders of Hamas, and the information we received from the resistance groups, the region is close to taking a very big and decisive decision if genocide and war crimes are not stopped. If the war is not stopped as soon as possible, controlling the conditions of the region and leaving it out of the hands of all sides, the responsibility will be directly on the USA, Israel, and those who support war crimes.
The Iranian foreign minister later had a meeting with the Turkish president.
Now, beyond the war, diplomacy is also taking the hit. Diplomatic tensions are on the rise in West Asia. With the ongoing war, Turkey has sharpened its attack against Israel. Israel has ordered its diplomatic staffers to return from Turkey immediately. Israeli Foreign Minister Eli Cohen says that he wants to conduct a re-evaluation of the relations between Israel and Turkey. Now, Israel is furious with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Speaking at a pro-Palestinian rally attended by hundreds of thousands of people in Istanbul, Erdogan said that the Turkish people are ready to defend West Asia if Western countries try to wage a fight between Christianity and Islam.
Netanyahu nasıl teröristse Hamas da teröristmiş. Yazıklar olsun. İsrail, biz de seni savaş suçlusu olarak dünyaya ilan edeceğiz. Ve şimdi bunun hazırlığı içindeyiz. Ya İsrail, sen buralara nasıl geldin? Nasıl girdin? Sen bir işgalcisin. Sen bir örgütsün. Dolayısıyla Türk milleti bunu biliyor. Şair ne diyor? Batı'dan bahsediyorum. Gazze'deki katliamında en büyük sorumlusu işte bu Batı'dır. Sabır ve kararlılık öyle bir haslettir ki tamamını birliğin rahmetinde buluşmaya, ayrılığın azabından uzak. Ey Batı! Size sesleniyorum. Siz yeniden bir hilal Haçlı mücadelesi mi estirmek istiyorsunuz? Eğer böyle bir gayretin içerisindeyseniz biliniz ki bu millet ölmedi. Bu millet dimdik ayakta ve yine aynı şekilde aynı kararlılıkla Libya'da neysek, Karabağ'da neysek bilesiniz ki Orta Doğu'da da oyuz.
Now, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responded in his late-night remarks, although without naming Erdogan. He said, "Do not accuse us of war crimes. If you think that you can accuse our soldiers of war crimes, then that is hypocrisy. We are the most moral army in the world."
They began to take revenge on the principle of collective responsibility. The terrible events that are now taking place in the Gaza Strip, when hundreds of thousands of innocent people are being indiscriminately killed, who simply have nowhere to run, nowhere to hide from the bombings. This cannot be justified in any way. When you look at bloody children, at dead children, at how women and old people suffer, how doctors die, of course, then your fists clench. Then tears well up in your eyes. There is no other way to say it. But we don't have to. We don't have the right. And we can't allow ourselves to be guided by emotions. We must clearly understand who is really behind the tragedy of the peoples of the Middle East and other regions of the world, who is organizing the deadly chaos, and who benefits from it, in my opinion. Today this has already become obvious and clear to everyone. Customers act openly and brazenly. It is the current ruling elites of the United States and their satellites that are the main beneficiaries of global instability. They extract their blood rent from it. Their strategy is also obvious. The United States is a world superpower. Everyone sees and understands this. Even based on trends in the global economy, is weakening. They are losing their positions. The American world, with one hegemon, is collapsing, disappearing, gradually but steadily becoming a thing of the past. But the United States does not want to put up with this. On the contrary, they want to maintain and extend their dominance, their global dictatorship. And in conditions of general chaos, it is more convenient to do this. Because with the help of such chaos, they expect to restrain and destabilize their competitors, as they put it, their geopolitical opponents, to which they include our country. But in fact, new centers of world development, sovereign, independent countries, that do not want to humiliate themselves and play their role lackeys. Today Russia is not only actively participating in the formation of a new, fairer, multipolar world with equal rights and opportunities for all countries and civilizations. We are not only one of the leaders of this objective historical process, but I will say more, and everyone knows this, for our future, for the principles of a fair world order, for the freedom of countries and peoples. Russia is fighting on the battlefield. We fight consistently. Our soldiers and officers, our heroes, fight and lose their comrades. I will repeat again. Behind the tragedy of the Palestinians, and behind the massacre in the Middle East as a whole, behind the conflict in Ukraine, behind many other conflicts in the world, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Syria, and so on, are the ruling elites of the United States and their satellites, This is already obvious to everyone. They are the ones who are planting their military bases everywhere. On occasion and without any occasion, they constantly use military force. They send weapons into conflict zones. They also send financial resources, including to Ukraine and the Middle East. They incite hatred in Ukraine and the Middle East. Without achieving results on the battlefield, they want to split us, as far as Russia is concerned, from within, weaken us and sow confusion. They are also not satisfied with any participation of Russia in solving global and regional problems, including the Middle East settlement. They are generally not happy when someone acts or speaks not according to their orders. They believe only in their exclusivity, in the fact that everything is allowed to them. They do not need lasting peace in the Holy Land. They want constant chaos in the Middle East.